Gentlemen, I'd like you to listen to this song and guess what happened over the last few days.
Nice.
He slept through the night. He did it. He
Nice.
slept through the night.
Hey.
Just let that roll for a second.
Don't play
Welcome
too
to
loud.
New Dad Gaming, a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers figuring out their gaming lives, and lousy classical music intros.
That wasn't you? What?
Yeah. Yeah, little ditty I wrote and put together for the show. I hope you guys like it. It's our new catches.
That was actually his falsetto. He recorded it when his son fell asleep.
Yeah, that was all in
Shallow
acapella,
recording.
done
Yeah.
at 3 in the morning. Just layers on layers.
Yep.
My name is Trevor, and I have a 6-month-old who slept through the night.
Woo, woo, woo.
My name's Gavin. I have a 4-month-old, and I will, for the sake of not stealing thunder, congratulate Trevor.
I'm joining the club, eh?
I
Hey,
didn't
hot
say
shot.
My name's Jeff, and I have a 2.5 and a 5-year-old that both sleep. But welcome.
Yeah. Oh man, so it's just the
I'm expecting him to be like, yeah, the 5-year-old's at work. It's okay. He's not asleep right now because he does a night shift, but
Yeah,
he sleeps through the day, so it's all right.
earning me money.
yeah, my 5-year-old's making only 6 figures, and it's you just want him to do a little better.
Pull some weight. Was it? Did you guys find it eerie, like when you like did the birth certificate and all that fun stuff, that your child also got their social insurance number at the same time?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I just found it was weird that like all that. Like I understand it's like just get it done, but it's like about a decade and a half early. Like it's just one of those things where it'd be like they got their driver's license as well. Like it's just a done package.
He's so on the grid.
You can be a pro gamer by 6, so come on.
I
You gotta
guess,
start 'em
yeah.
early.
I guess.
Just wait till you get your passport too. Like get
Oh,
the creepy criminal baby photo, and
Oh, I love it.
no,
It's
it's
so
not,
good.
man. But yeah, so it's nuts, guys. Like he did it. He slept through the night, and it, it's funny. I think it is curious how these methods towards getting kids to sleep through the night, the cried out method, what's it like? Cried out method,
Yeah.
the integrated method, I think one is called. There's like 3 or 4 of them. My brother had a sleep coach actually come in to help with his. Like there's all of it, and within that, and there's with your kids. Every kid is absolutely different in how they're going to go to sleep. There's these particular methods, and so much of it really just seems like when you as a parent are kind of ready to do it. Like it's you. It seems like it's you taking a gauge of your kid. Is he ready? And then in some minor way, are you guys ready? Are you the parents ready to, and for lack of a better word, I'll say subject the baby to that training, right? Because it ultimately is just he's gonna have to cry for a bit. Like you're gonna have to hear him wail, depending on the kid. But
Hmm.
a lot of times you're gonna have to hear him just cry and reach for you, yearn for you, like make those noises. And are you at a stage? And for us, a lot of it was we were reading some forums, and it's parents at 2 months old were like, well, it's time to get this baby sleeping. And would just shove it in the crib. And in many ways, maybe that's fine. Maybe that worked and they did great. But for us, it's just like that felt. We're holding the kid, we're looking at him. It's like that feels too early. Doesn't feel
hmm
like he's going to be able to learn enough. That feels a little bit cruel for us, right? And then so what a lot of this was is this weekend when we did it. It's like this is the time. Like we feel we're ready. We kind of have to. We're kind of at wit's end. It's time to get this going. And then yeah, the jerk like he fell asleep within like 8 minutes. He just didn't like wah wah wah
Christmas miracle.
dropped. And he slept for 5 hours immediately, and then woke up at one point for like actually we made a bit of an error. He wasn't eating well during the day, so he woke up first. Uh, we went in a few times to try to comfort him. The first time he woke up, really, it was actually just hunger, and we didn't pick up on it right away. We were too much into the sleep mindset. But as soon as we gave the bottle, fell right asleep. Next day, slept much better because we fed him much more through the day.
Yeah.
Woke up once at 3, uh, made noises for like 3 minutes, and fell back asleep the whole night. So, man,
I think it really
it's
comes down to being more stubborn than a baby too. Like whether you start at 2 months or you start like later on, each family is different, but I think it really comes down to um, just kind of it's like that, who's the Tony Danza? You got to kind of figure out that, and it's not just figuring out like who's in charge of that scenario. I think with us, it really came down as well to just making sure that she felt comfortable on her own in the bassinet and that everything was fine, and that was just sleep time. And we found also a routine. We have a very particular bedtime routine that seems to be doing fairly well for us. And it just gets once it's like a rhythm of activities that signal to her that she's now going to be going to bed and she's going to be spending
Hmm.
some time alone in the bassinet. And luckily, that sort of routine helped establish a good sort of bedtime indicator for her, so she knew it was more than just a nap.
Yeah.
And that sort of separation for her kind of, I think, helped a lot. And yeah, it just came down to comfort because that's the thing is the reason they cry for so much at first is that they're it's weird being alone because they were always in somebody's arms for the first little while. Um, but once they know everything's cool, um, that sort of once they chill out and they're like, yeah, all right, everything's fine, I'll go to sleep. Sometimes it just takes like 8 minutes. Um, like that's usually the big kind of hurdle to get past. But I'm really happy
Yeah.
that you guys are finally able to get to that stage.
Yeah.
The club.
Yeah. I think it was man, I think a lot of it was on us. It's just like were we ready for it? And up until this weekend we really just in that weren't ready to quite do what was going to be needed to be done. And what's good is like I think we were right in that same wheelhouse with you guys because up until this point we were well prepped for it in the sense that he had a routine. His nights were always the same, and he was always pretty good about falling asleep the first time. That was never the big issue. It was more the big one was any time from like 3 a.m. on, like he would wake up on the hour.
Yeah, okay.
And now that he's alone, he's kind of learned that part. Like now that part he sleeps great. Or even if he's like kind of moving a bit, it's not disturbing us, and he's just plowing through. So this we're talking like literally any time from 7:30 to 8, right until like 7 in the morning. Now
Nice.
this, and I'm also I'm a little hesitant to play that music because it's only been 3 nights. That's so I don't know that
Okay.
that makes a trend or
No,
like
you're
makes a
good.
habit.
You're good.
You're fine. So I'm worried like tomorrow, like next week, I'm even more haggard. My hair is I'm already further bald than I am currently, and it's just like well,
Guys, it didn't
guys,
work. It didn't work.
it's like the funeral progression song instead of some hallelujah song.
But it's all finding that magic trick too, right? Like, and we found out with my one son, we had to not only swaddle, but double swaddle.
Wow.
So, because he would bust out, right? And as soon as they bust out, or
The
that
double
twitch,
swaddle. That's
yeah.
amazing.
So we double swaddled. So it was like a straight jacket. But that's what he wanted, right? He was just so cold, like cold, or like if he was tucked in nice and warm, and that knee jerking or the arm twitching didn't happen and didn't wake him up, he was done. Like that was it. It was perfect. But it was like
Wow.
you had to
See,
find
with
that
our
trick.
daughter, she can only do swaddle from like the armpits down. She needs her arms out.
Oh yeah,
So if her arms are tucked, she freaks out. But if her arms are free, she's fine.
yeah,
And it's just like that. I think it's also for her so she can self-soothe and stuff and like suck on her hand and whatnot.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's weird because like I imagine if we swaddled your baby the way that our baby likes being swaddled, your baby would be like, "This is horrible." But if we swaddled our baby the way your baby likes being swaddled, she'd be like, "What are you doing? I'm
just
like a
just
sausage."
wait for number two because it's like completely different.
Yeah.
So you're like, wow, this did work with one, and now you're totally a new puzzle that
Yeah,
you have to figure out.
they're each their own Rubik's cube.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what's just so funny to hear, like to see these methods. It does seem like there are some universal truths as far as, and again, not so much. I don't want to vouch for Cry It Out or Integrated or whatever one in particular, but it does seem like these are the four paths to get that kid to sleep. So despite such unique characteristics that each baby has, it's like seems like there's
I,
some core ideas that seem to work with them.
I think the consistent thing too is just
Yeah, yeah,
maintaining consistency and diligence. You know, um, just kind of like outlasting the baby regardless of what method you're doing, but like not giving in kind of thing.
and
Um,
and and calm, being calm, because
yeah,
I found like a lot of those nights I was extremely frustrated, like to the point like I'm tired, I don't want to deal with this right now, and you just have to kind of simmer down because you know that like they're so close, but if you show your cards, they feed off that and they
yeah,
know, and you're just like you're back to square one.
yeah.
Oh, you're angry, Dad, eh? Well, what if I was
Ah,
to?
What
yeah,
if I am
exactly.
too?
Yeah, I think like yeah, and we weren't. So we were really good the first couple nights. Tonight actually we shifted it up a bit because we weren't happy with how we put him down. I mean, a big part of most of the methods that we read is to not once you get them down, do not pick them up because
Right.
that just tells them that like okay, if you cry enough, we're gonna get you.
Yep.
As opposed to like no, you're down, you're out. Tonight we broke that a bit because we put when he put him down, it wasn't great. Like he was really
Yeah,
kind of fussy. He wasn't in a proper state, and we even felt it when we first did it.
Yeah.
And things weren't really progressing. We're like, okay, so let's pick him up one more time. This is going to be a reset. So this isn't like we're not going to keep doing it, but first time around it was a misfire.
yeah. We
So
do the
clean
same
slate.
thing. Sometimes there's like, okay, this isn't gonna take, and sometimes we know it before we even like go over. Like we're halfway bent down to put her in the bassinet, and we can just tell, and we're like, okay, yeah, like there's no point in even releasing her into the bassinet because this isn't gonna take. And you're just like, okay, mulligan, let's try this again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, so actually, so circle back on something you did say about the birth certificate. We have a bit more of a curious one because, and I think I might have made a miss. I'm not sure if I made a misstep or not, but the in Colombia, so where my wife is Colombian.
she
The
is Columbia.
she she is Colombia.
She's my Columbia.
my, my wife, the country of Colombia. My wife is Colombian, and down there the way they do names is to take the father's name and then you append the new name that you're taking. So it's the your husband's last name and then you append your father's last name to it. So she's currently I don't know if I should be mentioning her name on air, but the
Make one up. Make one up.
pick
I
one.
want to see you make one up.
Oh jeez. So let's say so I'm Alexander. So let's choose Sanchez. So post marriage, it would be like Alexander dash Sanchez. Now so technically with the kid, when I'm writing out the name, if it was going to be a true Colombian name, it was going to be Alexander dash we'll say Sanchez. And the point that I actually found out a little bit later, unfortunately, is that if for him to get he can get dual citizenship with Colombia, so he can become a Colombian citizen by way of her. But now that his name isn't dashed, he can't. In
Oh,
order to get that citizenship slash passport in Colombia, as we understand it, he has to have that official dashed name.
wow.
So
Old country
I might
thinking.
have in so writing, I might have dashed his hopes to be a Colombian citizen.
Oh, dad joke. Where's the crying?
Oh, wow.
Oh wow! Oh, I didn't even notice. That's amazing. I'm rifling that stuff off without even thinking. Now I'm a
Oh,
pro.
oh.
Accidental dad joke.
That's amazing. That's such a good one
That's a
too.
new level.
Dashed.
That's a new level.
That's genius.
I did know a
Dashed his
dad joke.
hopes.
I
Oh,
did dad.
that's because the best part is that whole story sounds like a setup to that dad joke, and
That
it
that wasn't?
wasn't. No, I wish it was. I wish I was that clever.
There you
Where's the
go.
mic? Look at Gavin, so distraught.
I just,
Gavin is so angry right now.
Perfect.
Like, imagine if I led you on this emotional roller coaster
That
that
was
is the
it. Yeah.
story of international.
set up of a punchline.
Oh, he's telling the Sanchez joke again. Oh,
Here we go.
here's the Sanchez joke. Hold
At
on.
least it's a clean Sanchez joke.
Uh, but yeah, so
Thanks,
it
Jeff, for
was.
having me on that one.
So I'll have to see what happens. I don't know if like we go back because I'd like him to have that because I do want him to keep a connection to my wife's country. Like I want that to be him to know that part of his background. And
I'm sure a legal name change on this end would
yeah,
hopefully appendix it. That and the fact that his mother is actually Colombian.
yeah, I'm sure there's some sort of
She's
workaround.
Colombian. Ah, she should have some pull.
Yeah, she is the country of Colombia. You think she'd, of all people, But gentlemen, let me throw it back over to you. So, Gavin, how was your week in fatherhood and gaming?
Fatherhood was good. Actually, really nice. Stuff's going great. We're really happy. She met Santa yesterday for the first time, and
Crier?
hmm?
Did she cry?
No,
No? Perfect.
she was great. She stayed in Mom's arms, and Mom sat on Santa's knee, and then I sat on his other leg. No, I sat on the arm of the chair. He didn't let me sit on his knee. But no, he was a really good Santa, and she was a good sport. She's pretty good with other people. She doesn't really freak out too much with strangers. Like she might give the stranger eye, but she won't like just kind of that like I don't know
Yeah.
if I know you. But no, she was a trooper. We got a really nice photo. We went on Monday. One of the benefits of working for myself is I take Sundays and Mondays as like kind of my weekend, and yeah, we went on a Monday. There was no line.
Yeah, I bet not.
Santa just like, hey guys, like, all right. Santa.
You'd have a photo shoot with Santa. You're like, yes, strike pose. Yes, let's do this. There's no one else in line.
He's all about it. He needs practice. He's like, could you get your kid to cry? I really need to practice my kid crying poses.
I'm the Monday Santa. Hi.
Flirty pout, flirty pout. But
Pop it,
yeah.
Santa. Let's do this.
Yeah. No, as far as gaming, it's been a little bit lighter. Work's been kind of busy, finishing off a couple things for the new year, fun stuff. But you know, gotta work, and then family, and then it's like family, work, games. So, but no, family stuff going well. Today we did a big grocery run to get ready. We're gonna host my mom and dad, so that'll be nice. I already got a turkey ordered, so I get to pick that up next week. Um, I already got my stick of butter to rub all over the turkey and then lots of herbs. Luckily, like there's pretty well every Christmas I'm always in the kitchen helping out anyways. It's kind of since I was a kid, so like that dinner is pretty comfortable and familiar to me. So even growing up in general, like my mom and my dad always encouraged me to help out around like meals and stuff like that. So we're really excited actually. My mom and dad are really excited, so it'll be fun, kind of a passing of the torch. We have to go see my wife's family a couple days before, so we're gonna spend a few days with them, and then yeah. So all in all, it's gonna be good holidays. Looking forward to it.
Ah, beauty. And Jeff, yourself, games and fatherhood.
Fatherhood was a good one again, like kind of Christmas festivities. So I actually had my oldest, who's a 5-year-old, sat him down and watched Home Alone.
Oh,
So,
nice.
which is pretty tame.
Yeah.
So he loved it because he
First
thought
time?
yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
So he sat through the entire thing. He called it the Christmas trap movie because he sets the whole house with different traps. But
That's on
I
point.
I like that title a lot, actually.
yeah, Christmas trap. It's more literal.
Christmas trap.
But he loved it, so it was great to see. I kind of want to like introduce him to the holiday movies and kind of get the same tradition that I had kind of going. But
Wait for Die Hard.
yeah,
Yeah, still haven't seen that one. So
oh,
yeah, I've never seen a Die Hard movie.
oh no, we're back on the
Never seen
list.
Die Hard.
Yeah, back on the list.
Wow.
Some work to do over the
Yeah.
holidays. Yeah.
Yeah.
You've seen Star Wars,
Literally,
right? Oh
My
wait,
wife's in the background going, how is that possible?
Just never came up. Like I've seen clips of it, but like I'm aware of it.
you're gonna have to watch it then.
Yeah.
Christmas movie, perfect
It's a
time,
Christmas movie too, man.
marathon.
The first
Yeah.
one. Just at least watch the first one. The other ones, they're alright, but the first one is classic.
Get a feel for it.
Yeah. So
Oh,
okay,
gotta get
well,
those
I can see that as a Christmas. Baby's first Christmas movie is just gonna be nice John McClane running around.
Yeah.
Well, did you guys remember the? Did you ever play the PlayStation 1 game Die Hard?
Yeah, it was like in like a hotel or something.
It was interesting. There's like
Remember.
two different games entirely within this game, and the one was a rails shooter. So it's just like is going around like you're just controlling this little circle. Super hard. Like it was incredibly hard as a game. And then the second one was it's a top-down third-person view, and you're just running around the floor, and you just have to kill a bunch of people. Hyper violent. Like I remember some of the best strategy was to just wait in the bathroom and throw a grenade out, And then every now and then, like guys would just run in front, and you just like mow them down. Next thing you know, you have this like pile of like 30 bodies just sitting in front of the. And then if you killed enough of the guys, you got this beeping saying, "Hey, they come to this bomb," and like turn it off, and then you got to go up another floor. So the whole thing time you're just progressing like floor by floor up. That game was man. That's one of the that game was awesome.
Just think about it. That's amazing. Yeah, you should watch the movie then.
Yeah, you should maybe watch the movie that it's based on.
Yeah, so,
Basically,
so perhaps in some ways I've spent more time with Die Hard than either of you. Just if you want to consider it that way,
without knowing context, yeah.
without a lick of context.
I don't know what's going on. It's a great game.
Like I know all the clips. Like they had actual. They just took actual clips from the movie too and placed it in.
Oh,
It's something like, not going to die today, or like it's not a good day to something like that. That's the best. And I'm not going to try to
you
clip.
need to watch it. Please watch it.
I just remember this. They pulled all these clips in as he's yelling.
You're killing it.
He's already dead. Please.
Already dead.
Great game. Look it up.
If you haven't heard of
I'll
this,
have to try.
Die Hard is a game. It's pretty fun.
The
I guess it's
Difficult
based off
Death,
of,
I
like,
believe the movie's called. Actually, shit. No, I watched the terrible sequel,
Oh,
the one where he has
Yeah.
a son.
Yeah.
Actually,
Oh,
no.
yeah.
Hold on. I'm gonna credit. I say terrible because that's how it was reviewed. I enjoyed it. I watched it and I was like, explosions. These guys are running around. This is entertaining. I enjoy it.
The
Was it
reason
a?
people didn't like it was that it wasn't. It's such a big departure from the first one. Like if you watch that one and then you watch the original,
Yeah.
the character John McClane in the first one was like this really like an underdog story of a guy running barefoot around a corporate plaza trying to save his, you know, somewhat ex-wife from terrorists along with everybody else in the building. So like he was outgunned, outmatched, and somewhat self-doubting at times too. Far more human and relatable to the audience. In the other ones, albeit entertaining action films, he became more like a superhero, and he was more like kind of a Captain America, you know, circling on a tank, punching a Russian in the face. There's literally he surfs on a Harrier jet in the fourth one.
Something
I
like
think
that.
that was the fourth. It was like it had the Apple commercial kid in it. It was
The was Carl from like Family Matters in one of them?
the first one.
Yeah.
First one,
And
okay.
Andy won the second one, I believe.
Remember one of the clips? I'm like, hey, it's a guy from Family Matters. It's like Carl. Neat. What's he doing here? Because the best part is like his look was so defined. That's like,
Always a cop.
yeah. It wasn't that guy playing a character. It was like clearly Carl from that TV universe
Yeah, the two
in the
codes,
world of, yeah.
There's like an episode of Family Matters where he comes home and he's all bloodied.
It's a crossover.
You won't believe what happened today.
The Christmas I had.
Did I do that?
Oh God.
It's like, Urkel, I got no time for this. Do you know what I just saw today?
Oh, Jeff. In the same universe, the hacker in the first one is related to Steve Urkel. He's an older cousin.
Oh, we could totally do this crossover. Perfect. Done.
At very least a YouTube fan theory of how Family Matters and Die Hard exist in the same universe.
Plausible.
Yeah, here we are.
Plausible.
Oh,
All right. Speaking of Christmas and losing our minds, I wanted to ask you, gentlemen, to talk about a video game gift memory from your childhood, like kind of the one game that you got, or not the one game, but a game you got at Christmas that left just an indelible mark on your psyche, positive or negative, where it's just you opened it and you almost did that like Nintendo kid freak out. Yeah, so I wasn't sure if you guys had anything in mind. I can go first if you guys want to contemplate.
Yeah, you fire. Go for it.
One of my favorite video game, actually, you know, I got two. One is one that I got an Atari 2600 that my parents got for me at a garage sale, and it had like a suitcase full of games. So it was not only a new console, but a library of games
Wow.
for me.
Cool.
Boom, off the bat. Like, no, like, oh, it came with Mario, enjoy. It was like, no, here's the Atari 2600 and a shelf of games. And it had the Ghostbusters and all sorts of really fun stuff. And the Ghostbusters game was really wicked. But yeah, I remember getting that and being almost, I was more excited to receive that, I think, than when I got my Nintendo, uh, because I was older and jaded, and also the Nintendo was fun, but I had already played it a bit with my friends. But the Atari I didn't really get my hands on until I actually got it as a gift. So yeah, that was a really prominent memory for me. And the other one was I remember getting a LucasArts PC game collection, and it
Oh
had
yeah.
like a whole bunch of like classic. Well, back then they were relatively new. It was like their games of the last 4 years collection. But it had like Full Throttle. It had all the Star Wars ones
That's
that LucasArts was
amazing.
doing at the time, like Rebel Alliance and those weird sort of adventure game slash action game hybrids that they were doing. Um, and yeah, it like just an amazing collection of all. Oh, it had X-Wing versus TIE Fighter as well,
Oh,
which
one of the best.
is to date one of my is what got me hooked on space sims in the first place because it was just you could either be a fighter pilot for the Rebel Alliance or for the Empire, and uh, each group had different ships, and each ship handled differently. And you had to balance like energy reserves for your shields, your weapons. Like it was totally a space sim. And I remember the first time I took down a Star Destroyer, I just felt like a boss. And it was also a really good moment for me with my dad as well, because my dad got hooked on it. Like I would go to bed, and then he'd get the joystick and start playing it on the PC.
That's what's gonna happen now. What are you
Yeah,
kidding me?
yeah.
Exactly.
Isn't it past your bedtime?
Yeah, yeah. And so yeah, it made me. It was something like Dad and I could talk about. We could actually almost like we would go and hang out and like go like get a popsicle or something at the corner store, and we would like share war stories from this like fake Star Wars battlefield sort of thing. And yeah, that was really it was fun. It was kind of like a father-son bonding thing over like video games, which I'd never really experienced before. And then he started telling me about the old arcade cabinet Star Wars game that was out years ago, and when he got to play that before I was even born, and how like that like he could go through the trenches of the Death Star and all that. Hearing him telling me about those gaming experiences, and then that's when I started telling him about the game that he bought for me, and then that's when he was like, "Oh, it's your bedtime." And but yeah, so I think I like that memory as well because it does kind of make me think about um, sharing those experiences with my daughter and seeing what sort of things that she likes, and then seeing what sort of games I've played in my past that might uh, cater to those likes that she has in regards to gaming experiences that really uh, grab her attention. So,
Yeah,
so
I
yeah, those are
wonder.
two of my big
I wonder if
experiences.
you can find the that arcade game. I don't think you see a lot of arcade games ported, but you gotta
There
wonder if there's
is a
some ROM kicking
bar.
around you can get for your dad to like
There's a
I think give him
bar
a
in
computer.
Toronto actually that I saw it at recently, and I'm hoping that they don't sell it with all this Star Wars craziness
Mhm.
that's going on right
Yeah.
now. There's a bar downtown that I go to every so often, and they recently had it there. So I'm hoping it's still there. Maybe next time that they're down, I'm gonna have some spare time. I see if Dad wants to come down with me and have a round. Uh, but yeah, but as you said too, there might be some emulators out there. There's this hobby thing I want to do eventually, which is to build myself like a really good universal arcade cabinet um, that just I'll have like a few different ROMs running on it and just as many games as I can shovel into the thing.
You know, those things look amazing. I've seen a lot of builds for that, and just the
Oh
you get the simulated button for the quarter, so you don't have to actually
yeah,
pay, but like it's the same mechanic. Which ultimately in many ways is like a cheat, like a like whatever, in the sense that like every time you put in a quarter, it's a free life, so you just kind of keep on going through.
yeah.
Spam it.
I would
Just
actually like I would make it almost like the house swear jar where there actually does have to be quarters put into it, and then that money goes towards like I don't know.
College fund.
I was gonna say beer, but yeah, college fund would probably be a better use.
yeah.
Yeah. Any school you like, kid. Any school you like.
Any
I,
school this mason jar full of change will pay for.
I can kind of go along with the same theme. I think the memory for me was Christmas morning. I got a Nintendo 64
Ooh.
and Star Wars Shadows of the Empire.
That was a
Oh.
fantastic
And I
game.
played that for like the entire day. We were supposed to go to my grandparents. Like I played that thing, and it was just the one level I loved. It was Hoth, right? And
Yeah,
that's I think the first level.
I
I
think
love
so.
just
Yeah.
flying the snow speeder, wrapping the
Oh yeah,
cord
that
around the
was
legs.
that felt man that when you succeeded at that, that was so
It was
gratifying.
amazing,
That
so good. And then I would try to like, all right, well this time I want to play it again, but I'll only use like my shooters. I won't use the rope. And then it would take forever, but I would love doing it. I played that thing forever. I don't think I ever beat it. It was probably just like the first three levels that I was really interested in. But honestly, one of my best, like, and it's snowy outside. It just felt like Hoth in my brain. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had. And thinking back on it, I don't know if Nintendo the 64 came with a memory card or not, because I remember there being a problem, like I couldn't save or something. So that might have been in with the first three levels where I couldn't save enough to continue it. But man, I love that game to death. And then like other games came with it like along the line in the year, but that was like my Christmas morning. That was like amazing. That set the standard for. But same kind of theme, right? Like I don't know what it is about Star Wars games. It was just you take on a totally different role and like you're I don't
I
know,
think because we
living in the
spent
world.
so many years watching those films and then just yearning for an opportunity to try those things we
Yeah,
see in the film, and then there's a game that comes out. It's like, oh yeah, you know that thing with the snow speeder that you really wanted to try out?
yeah.
Guess what? You can
Hey,
do
you
it
could do
now.
it. And it's the first level.
Yeah. You ever
Amazing.
want to try to actually hop in an X-wing and take down a super star destroyer? Guess what?
I'd love to. But
Yeah.
that was my like all time,
Yeah.
all time best. How about you, Trev?
yeah, so I'd say it's actually Final Fantasy IX, the of all things. So I was curious. I never really
Beach
got
volleyball
any
one?
what's it?
Is it the beach volleyball one?
No, that's 10.
That's 10. That's the one before that
You like
actually.
9? I didn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I got really into it. I like the story and the character, the mage character,
Vivi?
Vivi. Yeah,
Vivi? I don't know how to spell his name. Bye
what's that?
bye. Vivi?
I added a D, and his or its name was Vivid, which I thought was a much better name for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Zidane and that whole particular story. Like, it's curious. We never really got any. I wasn't gifted any console at any time, so we didn't. We had an Atari. It just kind of showed up at one point. We got a hand-me-down
As they
Nintendo.
often do.
Yeah, yeah. So I think someone probably just threw it out. We just dragged it home.
I
Like,
swear, the
yeah.
Atari 2600 is like the littlest hobo of consoles. It just shows up long enough to solve some problems, and then it moseys onto a new home.
Goes from place to place. No one knows where it's
Uh,
been.
Yeah, just trotting down the road. Maybe tomorrow, one day, just off it goes. Bring some new kid joy.
Oh, so yeah, then same with Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and then PlayStation. They just ended up being things that my brother and I like saved up for and like purchased together. So we always had joint ownership of these consoles. Yeah, but nine for some reason I just remember receiving it. I had loved seven. I skipped eight because I hated it. Like I played it at a friend's house and I just couldn't stand it. Did not want to play it. And nine came in and just like the story was tight. Or for myself, I just really enjoyed it. Enjoyed the systems and like I can remember that. I had like an internal system where it's like, okay, if I spend 20 minutes with family, I could run back upstairs and play an hour of the game, and I don't think anybody will notice. So the entire, because my house is where everything was hosted, so it was just this constant cycle of like, okay, coming down, like, hey, anti, whatever, great, it's good to see you. Yeah, how you been? Cool, cool. Then I just run upstairs and play the game for like play the game for another hour, and then look at my watch like, oh God, I better go say hi again, and run
Um,
downstairs and.
yeah.
Yeah, and to this day, you know, I think back to that particular game, and though that amount of time that I spent at it, and yeah, even my yearning to play it in between like family and things like that, and like it was just such a great purchase, and probably in two because I bought seven like secondhand a long time ago and had skipped eight, so there was a decent kind of lull between Final Fantasies, and I'd really gotten into RPGs at that point,
Mhm.
so it just hit such a perfect note. And then to receive it at that time of year, it was still relatively new, and just having that time over Christmas break to put into it, Like,
Hmm.
it was just great. But like I said, I think one of the outstanding moments of it was okay, an hour of play, and then I have to put in 20 minutes of family, and then
Yeah,
I can play for another hour.
yeah.
And it just,
Well, seems stressful, eh? Because like nowadays you have autosave, right? You have autosave, rest mode, whatever. There you're like, okay, I got an hour. I gotta like say, I gotta reach a save point. It can't be during a cutscene because it can't
oh
pause.
man.
Just hold on, family.
Yeah, like kids now will never understand that stress of your mother yelling at you to get off the system. And you're like, I gotta save, I gotta
I
save.
have to see that. You're
What's hilarious
ruining
though
it.
is that kids today, I see them making like that same argument to their parents. I actually saw it recently with some friends of the family where I think it was like a 7-year-old girl was playing like a game on her mom's phone, and then the mom was like, "Okay, that's enough. You gotta put it down." She's like, I gotta get to the save point. I gotta get to the save point." And the mom's like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, "No, you don't have to get to the save point. I know what I know what
Madam,
you're talking
in fact,
That kid would give you such an evil eye. Don't tell her. Don't tell
about." Yeah. No. So I like the idea too. It's like we're luckily at that generation where yeah, it was weird. It's like back then our parents didn't quite understand enough about the save systems to have patience when we're at like that pinnacle part where it's like, but mom, if I quit now, I'm gonna lose like 2 hours of work. Like, just give me 5 more minutes, and then I won't hound you to play for an extra 2 hours tomorrow.
her. Right.
Where now it's like the kids think that they're extra savvy, and rather than trying to just explain the legitimacy of their dilemma of just not wanting to stop, they they mask it in a need to continue to not lose progress. Um, and then a lot of the modern parents are seeing through it like, no, no, no.
Yeah, no,
I
it's like
know what it's like to lose a save game, and I know you're not going to have that happen, so don't worry about it.
like I've lived through the, 20 to 30 minute ending cutscene to a Final Fantasy game. And
When I
like
was I had to sit through 87 minutes of cutscenes
I played Metal Gear.
both
That
ways.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nowadays you don't see that, or now you can pause, right? Which
Yeah,
is great as a dad. It's
skip the
so
cutscene.
good. Love it. Please add that more into games. Just
Yeah.
yeah,
pause anytime, ever.
Oh,
yeah,
All
I
the
the
love it
time.
when the UI is like you the pause, like pause, primary button, resume. It's just like
Yeah,
bang, 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 and it's like you can pause, save, return in like 3 button presses,
yeah.
and it just moves you right back into it. Especially a game where it's like, oh, I'm about to enter into a situation that might not be great.
I was trying to find a post that I'd read recently because there was someone lamenting a comic that had been written where there's two kids sitting in a classroom and they're like looking at books and they're like how do you turn this thing on? And it's like ha 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 ha, ha. And the post is about like it's like I don't know if parents like get a sense of comfort from this that they think that their ignorance to computers is the same as our ignorance to books
Um,
in the sense that they think that as much as they don't understand computers, we don't understand books, and it's like we know how to read books, like we're,
we don't treat it like a smartphone.
and
Yeah.
then it's like is that comforting to them? The thought that like, well,
Like,
I don't
we
know
at
how to
least
use
can
a
still
computer,
have
but
our
at least these kids don't know what books are like, and it's like,
yeah.
it's like,
Well, and
There's
in
a
the future,
threshold of like old school knowledge, and I don't think books are that far back enough for it to not be obtainable by somebody who's also computer literate.
I
I
would
just
hope
have to
not.
remember a lot of these kids who learned how to use computers learned how to use computers by reading books about programming, or learning reading books about operating systems, or at the very least reading forums about it, which essentially is just a long book that everybody writes. Uh,
There's instruction manuals. Those are books.
those are books.
We had
yes,
those.
Yeah,
Now they're gone.
like, but like, yeah, it's I think in the same note too is that the generation that isn't super tech savvy, they can look back. It's like, well, yeah, sure, you know how to do this, but can you change a carburetor? And it's like, oh, yeah, I guess you got me there. And it's like there are some kind of old school knowledge bases that most individuals had in regards to home maintenance, automotive maintenance, uh, like survival skills, things like that. That our generation, like especially like or like millennials, um, they've kind of that chunk of their brain is now filled with a new modern survival technique, which is understanding how to survive in a digital space as opposed to just the beat space.
There was an
Um,
article on that same kind of thing that we, well, not we, maybe us, but millennials, a part of their brain kind of offloads information to the Google generation. So
oh, I think
you're
we
more
saw that.
resourceful, right? Well, you're like, well, I don't know the answer to this question. Um, I might remember it, but really I know how to get it. So I know how to find it versus
Hmm.
just remembering the information you've taken in.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a different way of like, I don't know, different way of
It's a
looking at it.
different way of archiving information. So
Yeah,
rather than archiving it as a hard copy, we archive the method to reacquire it.
Yeah, well,
Um,
you have the entire world's knowledge, and I mean, there's been tons of time where, well, not I don't have, where I'm in a scenario, for instance, like I had a car breakdown at some point, and I was able to figure out the problem. I literally was just on YouTube, like searching videos about like, okay, how do you solve this problem? Like, what's the best steps? And like,
yep.
there's this mechanic, and he's explaining you do this, and then you do this, and I just followed along. So
yeah.
immediately in that scenario, it's like, yeah, much of the exactly agreeing with what you're saying in that I don't know how to do that. But what I do have is access to the entire world of knowledge,
And not only
and
an
B,
access, but
ability to do it.
yeah, not only the access, but the skill set to cull out the bad advice. Like to be able to properly
Yeah,
search, because like anybody could
right.
type something into a search engine, but it takes a certain amount um, of tech savviness to understand, okay, what is a viable link that's going to give me a good
Yeah.
answer, and what's going to be an answer that's actually going to wind up breaking my car, and figuring that because like YouTube is filled with idiots, but also filled with experts, and it's understanding the difference between which of the videos is going to be helpful and which is just going to be a waste of your time, and which is just going to be a really, really awesome cat video. Um,
Are there ever not awesome cat videos?
Cat
The
fixes carburetor. Um,
the what I'm curious about is the yeah, like the next step for the kids, because if I think about the progression, and if you take a concrete example like reading, the my mother is beyond an avid reader. Like it is, I do not know how she's able to plow through so many books. And her regiment used to be she'd go to the library with one of those cloth bags, and she'd come back just hauling like, but it sounded like hundreds of books, like just physical dead trees, like bound all up together. And one of the great progresses for her is that she got a Kobo, like a little e-reader, and that thing has like she literally now in this little square she's carrying around like 20,000 books, and she's able to read a bunch, and like she's so keyed into the advancement that represented. Not only is it like just physically more ideal in the sense that she can carry around so many books, but it's the access to like what book do you want to read now? You totally can get that book immediately, and it's
you don't have to
amazing in
wait
that
for
sense.
somebody to return to the library. Like it's
Yeah.
there,
It's
and you just
instant,
have
right?
access to it. And even a lot of libraries have e-reader services that you can pair your
Yep.
device with. So, and I think that's also you make a good point. Is that like with your mother, uh, the act of reading is not what surface you're reading the words off of. The act of reading is reading a written language and digesting the information. So I think the one problem that maybe the newer generation has is that they're very much like they just read the headlines. Like very few of us read the full article. Like we'll read the headline, we'll scroll down, we'll read any of the text that's bold, we'll look at the pictures, and we'll thumb through the article essentially. Um, but very seldom do we take the time to fully digest it. And I think that is one of the things about this information overload is that we feel that we have so many articles to get through that we just skim through them rather than uh, fully absorbing them and fully reading them.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll actually I'll challenge you a bit on that one a little bit actually. where I like. I'm a big lover of nonfiction books, so be
Mhm.
it biographies or methods like better ways to manage or do business or any number of those things. Like the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, stuff like that. Really, really enjoy those things. Those books are there's a lot of fluff, like a unbelievable amount of fluff. Like generally, if you want to buy, and for the readers, I'm holding up a a thick looking shape. But generally, if you want to sell a book for $30 to $40, it feels like you need like at least 300 pages because otherwise, like, oh, that's not enough weight. When the salient points to it, the main education bits are roughly about like maybe like 50 pages,
Yeah.
like literally, because it's an example is great.
Hmm.
Two examples, okay, I'm really getting it now. Eight examples is a waste of my time. Like it's like I got it, I really got it now. You need to move on to the next point, but they just keep
Yeah.
hitting it. And I found that very specifically with, for instance, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. And
You'd think that would
there's
be a bullet point.
well, what's great, there's actually an app that launched, and I'm kind of curious if this is a trend that kind of continues for our kids in their consumption of these things. It's called Blinkist, and there's
Okay.
audio versions where you download the book and the person reads it to you. There's also written versions if you don't want to have it audio, but it gives you like the parsed down Coles Note version of
So
any of those
cool.
books.
You
Like,
basically just you described it perfectly in saying that it's the digital version of Cole's Notes.
yeah, no, absolutely, and it's genius because like
Yeah.
I get to revisit old books, and each of these take anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes, and you're out. And they give you every main point you can highlight. You can come back to it,
It'll
and
take a full narrative and digest it down to like a campfire story.
yeah, absolutely. And then like here's the key points. Here's the key examples too. Like they really don't gloss over it in the case of being short, but it's just really they cut out that fluff, and it's incredible. And so I'll be curious. Like so the what we've seen is the digitization of everything, and now with the between the sheer amount, Gavin, like that you mentioned, and the yeah, like the sheer amount of it, it's almost like they're going to have an opportunity to look at it and how we're consuming it and what's the best optimal way for humans to truly consume something. And is it really beneficial to consume 800 pages of something that
Well,
might
it's the
be
same as
condensed?
like, is it feasible to consume 300 hours of a single video game? It's that. Do we want that to permeate all forms of digital entertainment, whether it be reading, whether it be films, like even with like Netflix and that idea of instead of uh, partitioning things up into weekly installments, we just binge through it all at once. Um, but then with reading and digesting that information, it's like we're binging on one form of uh, stimulus, and then we're trying to cull back and streamline a different form of stimulus. And it's really interesting on how like the digital media is changing that because it's something before where we would spend more time reading and digesting that information and less time watching TV shows. Where now we're spending more time enjoying narrative entertainment, whether it be video games or TV shows and whatnot, and then allowing our the information that we're receiving to try to learn new things or better understand the world, that information is getting digested into smaller portions that we can absorb quicker.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's probably the important like point to make as far as like there's the one if it's education or learning or passing of passing on of information that expediting of it and bringing forth the most important points and like the key points to the education, that's excellent. But I mean, for instance, like when I go on vacation or I'm on flights and I have like time reading like fiction books, like reading
oh yeah,
like the Lord of the Rings as a condensed version is not going to benefit anybody ever. Much like
no,
like it's like, well, forget all these super long video games, I want it short. Like no, those are experiences meant to be like in books or in video games, experiences meant to be expanded upon and enjoyed as a journey. But in education and information relay, it feels like there's really opportunity to keep it really tight and consistent so that it's quickly digested. And like the
Yes.
thought that like the jump from my mom and her library habits to Kobos and to these bullet point style stuff we're getting into now, to like what's going to happen with our kids and how they're consuming these things. Like the next one's going to be interesting to see what they get into.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm just curious as to, like, as you said too, is it like with the absorption rate? Like we can digest it quickly, but how much of it sticks with us? Or like, do we remember the content of what we read? Or do we remember where to find it? And is the less duration of time spent with that material hurting its ability to really get its roots into our memory? Or does it just trigger enough interest that we're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to remember this article and go back to it, or I'll bookmark it.
I,
So
I
yeah,
could I could see that with absorption. Like I think when we
so
were younger,
repetition and writing things out by
yeah.
hand as well and stuff like that, they're things that help kind of cement it into our memory.
But with us in our younger, learning from books, writing it down, I think we kind of took everything as like gospel. So everything that
Yeah,
was said to us, we just that was it. Like, and then we absorbed it, we remembered it. That's it. I think now scanning through a lot of this stuff is like there's a lot of crap, like we said, right? And a lot of misinformation, and we're just more inquisitive. Like, no, 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 wait. That's what the U.S. is saying, but what's the other side of the world saying? Like, we
yeah,
get two sides of the story now,
that's
where
also very true.
do we absorb it or do we just kind of like, well, no, it's crap, white. Like, what
Yeah,
should I believe or
yeah, it's
should
like
I?
you get to chew it around in your mouth for a bit and decide
Yeah.
whether or not you want to actually bring it in.
Yeah, I hope they update some things because I'll say the
I'm not making that joke, Chad.
God damn it, Gavin. It's Christmas, for God's sakes.
Merry
the
Christmas, everyone.
yeah, I'll say I hope they figure some of this stuff out because, for instance, like math, I think math would have been. I generally actually enjoy math.
Which has
Oh
changed,
yeah.
by the way. Just wait.
Has it?
Just wait. Tens. Just wait. It's coming. My son's going to grade one, and it's all changed. What you know as math is gone.
How?
Well,
I'm
which
telling
part
you,
of it? Because the part that I'm riling against is what I hated
addition.
was
Addition.
I'm serious.
1 + 1 = 3.
I'm
Man,
serious.
just take it.
I'll send you a link. Anyway, continue.
Oh,
Sorry.
it's an Orwellian nightmare.
The world.
No, the thing that I hate, like I think I would have liked math, but with I tend to be a creative head, like designer, and always like the arts. But I like math. Like I like solving that problem and getting to the end of it. What I hated with math, what got me out of math classes, was it's like, hey, this is how you do addition. Do 20 pages of this by tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, man, I know what you're doing. Like I know through repetition, you're hoping to permanently embed this in my brain. I appreciate that. This is stupid. Like this is ridiculous. Like and
I didn't mind that though. Like I
oh,
like the
I hated it.
I love math, and like even though now I'm like I work as an artist, um, I was like on the road to becoming an engineer. That was like my post-secondary path. It was either that or art, and I'm like, damn, I dropped pictures. Um,
I like
so
birdie pictures.
yeah, and but what I liked about the math thing is the repetition. I think maybe that was also because I did a lot of martial arts and that idea of like, yeah, that was a nice kick. Now do it 1,000 more times.
Ooh.
It's like, oh, fine. But then I got to see the reward from it and being like, hey, I put my foot through pine. That's great. Awesome. That's what that equals. What I couldn't handle was biology because it
Oh,
was
I
just
like biology.
biology for me.
Well,
It was just pure
parts.
memorization. It was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like
Mm.
memorizing
Yeah.
anatomical parts. And I'm like, wait, but in chemistry class we set something on fire, and in physics I made something fly across a room, and here I just gotta know what a meniscus is.
Yeah.
I'm,
Uh, so
I'm sure that's played a very
meniscus
key
isn't
role
even a
in many
biology
many
major.
days of your life. Gavin, what's the name of this thing over here? Just
It'll come up. Watch it come up tomorrow.
yeah.
I got
Exactly.
it.
I'd love to give you this contract, Gavin, but I need you to sign like what are these organisms of the cell? Go. Like just let me know.
I still know. Yeah.
That's
Stuff's all
why I
embedded.
keep them on a conference call and be like, oh, and then while I'm hemming and hawing, my left
Yeah, in the
hand is
background, just like
Googling.
just a second.
Let me think about that.
Yeah, man, but that repetition, like I hope, and maybe they've already done the science, and in fact, as much as I hated it, that level of repetition was like that. They've determined that if the kid repeats it that much, he'll remember it forever. So maybe it is. I remember
I think it's
my
also a
ultimate
matter
shame was the well, not shame, but like I was being a little bit mischievous. Like I generally would do the first week worth of homework, and then every week I just change the date on the top and then show that to my teacher. Like, yeah, I did the homework. He's like, oh, cool. Check mark and go to the next student. So,
That's resourceful. That's
so I
great.
never, I don't think, I very rarely ever actually did 20 pages. I'd do like at least one. So he kind of see it and then he like flips through because they don't have time. They're looking at like 50 kids worth of like homework. They're not going to flip through and check. So as long as there's a bunch of numbers on the page, he's like, oh, yeah, you did your homework.
So you
Perfect
apply that
marks.
to your kid's passport in Colombia, right? You just put your thumb over where the last name should be. You'd be like, yeah, look, totally. Good.
Totally
Canadian
Sanchez right there.
citizenship. It's good.
Wow.
Or like filling out his his application, just do the first page. Like, yeah, look at all these pages, totally done. Just
Totally done.
let me in, let me
Sign
in.
this form for a field trip.
Yeah.
It's
Passport.
okay. I'm married to Colombia. It's fine.
Yeah, and that's not. It wasn't, and I'm telling you, like, it wasn't like on account of laziness. Like, screw you, I don't want to do it. It was like, I understand the principle of this. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, you're wasting everyone's time. You're wasting my time. I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to do 50 pages of it. Although it's curious to hear your take on it, Gavin. How it's a bit more zen. You could appreciate the practice aspect of it and kind of like the zen nature in some ways of it.
Because the things that they made you practice a lot of times were like these foundation skills that then made the um, later stuff quicker and easier. Where if you have to like, if those things weren't kind of just drilled into your head, the recollection of the foundation stuff would slow down the next stage stuff. So it was, especially in things like calculus and uh, like with that sort of math, I found that having those base foundations in place really helped. Uh, and then years later, I've forgotten everything. So the permanence is temporary, I guess is a way of putting it. Like it was great because I had this kind of full bank of different formulas that I could call on and just to finish a logarithm.
Oh,
But
that
then
word. Oh.
logarithm, or
Though I will
calculate,
say, a
calculating
math is...
parabolic flight paths was my
No,
favorite
not
thing
parabolas.
to do.
Don't say them. Though I will say, in programming class, because I used to do Turing, right? We had a whole programming class. I applied math to making Pong, so I made like an actual Pong game that worked. But math there, I just knew or picked up on because it applied to something that I wanted to do.
Yeah,
So I think that's where kind of the education system is going.
yeah,
Like when they enter junior kindergarten and senior kindergarten, it's like play to learn, right?
yeah.
So they don't teach them anything. They're all like learning with special, setup things. So they
Well,
do
see,
get
it's the why factor. It's like, oh, you need to know this. Why? Oh, because
exactly,
it
yeah,
means you can do this. Oh,
right,
oh, so if
yeah,
I
and then
learn
you're
this, I can
interested.
do that? Awesome. I think that's why I like physics class a lot. Is like, why do I need to learn this equation? Oh, if you know this equation, you can calculate the weight of an asteroid that could just rip the planet in half. Like, that's
Yeah,
cool. Right. I'm sold.
Yeah, as
Like,
opposed to shut up, kid, because I said
shut up and
so.
learn.
do
Yeah,
50 well, it might go back on the teachers at that point too, right?
yeah,
Like maybe you had a well-engaged teacher that, I remember in physics class as well, like one of the scenarios was, well, it was parabolas, right? But he's like, well, this guy shoots a clown out of a cannon, where's the height of that clown before he hits the cliff kind of thing. And you're like, whoa, whoa, cool, that's kind of neat.
yeah.
I'll figure that out. Versus if you put it on a sheet of paper and say, do this 50 times, you're like, I can't visualize it. I don't care. Why? I don't.
Yeah, I
What if
remember,
it's like
jeez.
you need to plot the 50 clown smears on the cliffside? Then
Great.
you're
I'll do it.
engaged.
I'll do it.
I remember, geez, we had one math teacher who, to keep things interesting, is either every week or I think it was every week, a kid got to go up and like write a quote. It's like find a
Yeah.
quote and bring it into class and kind of explain what it means.
So dangerous.
And I was like, and I hated this class. I was like, I was good at school. I was very good at school. I just like it was all. I
You just
found a
didn't
lot
do
of
your
things
homework
boring.
because, like, your teacher.
Yeah, it's just like, I thought like art was the only thing I liked to do, and I didn't like doing much else. So like, I just found ways to like entertain myself. So what I did was I quoted myself, and I just came up with something before class, and I said, and I wrote it down on the board in front of everybody, saying, "If I was a chicken, I'd be delicious," like Trevor Alexander. she she stopped and read it. She had me stand up in front of the class. It's like, all right, Trevor, I would like you to explain to the class what your quote means. I'm like, huh. Well, you see, if I was a chicken, I would have a lot of taste and I'd be delicious because anything I do, I always want to do 100% and be the best I can be. She's like, sit down, Trevor.
I see through it.
Like, I was able to get myself out of it, but yeah, between faking math homework and putting nonsense quotes, my math career was doomed from the start. I hope my kid takes it, man. I hope my kid likes
It's
it.
gonna be so bloody crafty and just devious. Your kid's gonna sneak around all your stuff. You're in for it.
It'd be comeuppance.
What did I create?
Did you do your homework? Yeah. Can I see it?
Yeah, right here. Yeah. Okay.
No, man, I'll be like savvy to the tricks though. Like I'll be checking. I'm like, wait a minute. I see the date rubbed up. Nice try. Try to get this past me.
He posts his math problems on a forum.
Yeah, gets random strangers to do it online. Just
Yeah,
prints it
why
out.
wouldn't you? Done.
I'd probably take it.
Just anonymous does his homework for him.
Dear sirs, I think I will call this to a close then. We have used up a pretty decent allotment of time. Now, we do have some announcements given the holidays coming up, so whatever you are celebrating, be it Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, or anything else in between. So I don't know. What does the Great Spaghetti Monster have? Does he have anything this time of year?
I'm not sure.
Something noodly. Imagine.
Something in Italy. I like that.
We gather around the colander and the whatever. Anyways,
The great straining.
the great nice. We all strain that one night. So everyone, so whatever you are doing, we will be taking a couple break. We're taking a break for a couple weeks. We'll be coming back probably the second week in the new year, 2016. We'll be off for Christmas and the New Year's, of course. Gentlemen, I assume you're all looking forward to Christmas. Well, Gavin will be your first Christmas with a little one, mine as well. Jeff, as the veteran of Christmas with kids, any hot tips for us?
You will get every toy you hate.
Don't
That
be
is the
afraid to
job.
burn the toy.
That's the job of uncles, aunts, grandparents. They are to give you the toy that's most annoying, that you hate.
The Elmos with no volume control.
Yes.
What is it
It'll
this year?
happen.
Like, is there one this year? I mean, there are years. There was Furby, Elmo.
I think this year it's just Star Wars.
It's Star Wars and Paw Patrol. Paw Patrol's pretty big.
Paw Patrol. What about Minions? Like, are they still?
No.
Another
I see
movie
a lot
came.
of the stuff, but I'm not sure if the kids still dig it.
Star Wars is everywhere, like everywhere.
I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I've hit peak Star Wars. I just
Right?
can't
It's
anymore.
saturated. What at this point? What is it? What new audience is it bringing in? Like, you see it like everywhere. It's not.
The hype is like deafening.
Man, I
Are
hope
you
it's
guys
just a
gonna
good
see it?
movie.
It's like 1,000 Jar Jars screaming at death.
When's the actual? And you'll have to forgive me for this. When's the actual day that it comes out?
Like I think it already got its
Technically,
premiere last night. I think it was.
yeah.
I think.
So it's out, like, so if we went tomorrow, we could try to buy a ticket.
Oh, I don't think you'll get a ticket.
I get that, but I mean, like, it's going to be people will be seeing it tomorrow. Like,
Wednesday, yeah, at
People-
midnight. I
Some
think.
people, some of the upper crust of society have seen it already.
it's not us, I suppose.
Celebrities.
They'll ruin it for everybody.
I'll be curious. Yeah, it'd be great to see. Obviously, like, if there's some way to
Yeah.
sneak into it. My parents, what might be good is my parents live up north a little ways. They do have a theater. I can't imagine they don't have the mass to possibly fill the theater.
The town's
So
population won't fill the theater, so you're in.
it's probably my best chance to get in, honestly. And then I have like built-in babysitters right there. So that's
Yeah.
sounds like a bit of a slam dunk myself. Are you guys gonna try to see it?
Yeah, Lindsay and I are we're probably gonna ask if some of our friends who are like, "What do you want for Christmas?" And it's like, "You can come and babysit for 3 hours while we go across the street to the theater because we got
Here,
one right in
Oh.
our neighborhood." So we're gonna
remind me
wait
not to
for
ask you what you want for Christmas.
Yeah.
well, you know. So yeah, we're gonna wait for the dust to settle a bit. We got a theater right in our neighborhood, so getting to one isn't an issue. It's getting to one stands, baby. Because we are wanting to do actually my wife already did it once with the Stars and Strollers thing where you take
Yeah.
there's a special showing, but for Star Wars I really just want to fully shut my brain off to the world and absorb and enjoy it.
Yeah, like
So
missing like 20 minutes of it because the baby's crying. Like it's
Well, they
not.
turn the sound down too, right? Like the
yeah,
sound and the lights are on.
no, I want my
No.
teeth to rattle, not my baby. So uh,
And here, I don't know if I guess in Toronto you do have it, but you can book at the VIPs, right?
yeah,
You can book and drink in the theater, which makes it that much better.
our theater
So,
just got upgraded to the VIP one, but we also had the AVX, which was
oh, nice. Yeah,
you could like just be like, oh, I want this seat,
yeah.
which is super handy. Like you have to pay a little bit more, but
Worth it.
for like the really crazy premiere stuff that's super busy, I'd rather just pay a little bit more and not have to stand for the line for an hour and a
Right.
half. I don't have time for that stuff anymore. It's like it's the price of a coffee. I'll make my own coffee at home and I'll just go to the theater
Dad
and
tip.
not
It's good. I like it.
yeah.
Just book your movie ticket. It's like airplane seating, right? You just pick and you're done.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about it. See you later.
Futures now.
Oh my goodness, this is amazing.
Nah.
So
I
again,
feel like the stickiness off the floor.
yeah. So we will return in a couple weeks' time. We can't thank you enough for beginning to follow us this year. Next year is going to be a big thing, a big year for the podcast here. A big growing, guest stars, new films, better movies. We'll find out what other movies I haven't seen. We'll find out what games we play. Big launches. It's going to be a wonderful time.
I might actually invest in new lighting.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking that today. I was actually playing with a lamp beforehand. I was like, this, man, I probably this like I got so much shine going on my forehead. It's like I'm half tempted to start doing a little bit of makeup beforehand because this is
Yeah,
just
that
like
person.
it's to the point of being distracting. I'm finding. For
There's no like you don't have an Abrams lens flare coming off of it, so it's okay.
we'll see. I don't know. There's something truly troubling about continuing to go bald as my kid continues to blow out his hair. It's just like
That's where it's coming from. Like that's why before when your kid wasn't sleeping through the night, while you were asleep, your child was grabbing clumps of hair off your head and just mashing it onto
I knew
his.
it. Not,
That's where it's going.
well, now that he sleeps through the night, it's gonna be me sneaking in there, stealing some of that precious hair. You'll grow it
Wife wakes up
back.
to the sound of like clippers.
Pasting it to your head.
Daddy's
Okay.
turn, baby.
Taking it back.
So, everybody, we will see. This has been New Dad Gaming. We thank you again for everything this year. We will see you in a couple weeks when we do return. And until then, my name is Trevor, and I have a sleeping through the night 6-month-old.
Woo!
My name is Gavin. I have a 4-month-old.
My name's Jeff, 2.5 and a 5-year-old.
Great. Bye, everybody.
Happy episode.
Bye.